Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept our humble obeisances to Mataji. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
I'm going to have to mute the call today, okay? I don't know that I can stay on all the time, but I'm going to listen today, okay? I will be there.
Yes, Mataji. Okay, so we can start with the prayers. Umagyanatimirandhasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayam Dhirayat Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. So, we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 9, Text 9 through 12 today. So, Dhira Shanta Mataji, do you have a book? Would you like to read? Okay, I can start and then see if somebody else can share because I cannot really talk that much. So I'll do as much as I can. This is 499. Nunam vimushtam matayastava mayayate yetvam bhavapyaya vimukshanam anyaheto archanti kalpaka tarum kunapo pabhyogam ichanti yat sparshajam niraye api nirnam. Translation. Persons who worship you simply for the sense gratification of this bag of skin are certainly influenced by your illusory energy. In spite of having you, who are like the desire tree and are the cause of liberation from birth and death, foolish persons such as me desire benedictions from you for sense gratification, which is available even for those who live in hellish conditions. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj repented because he had come to the Lord to render devotional service for material profit. He here condemns his attitude. Only due to gross lack of knowledge does one worship the Lord for material profit or for sense gratification. The Lord is like a desired tree. Anyone can have whatever he desires from the Lord, but people in general do not know what kind of benediction they should ask from him. Happiness derived from the touch of skin or sensuous happiness is present in the life of hawks and dogs. Such happiness is very insignificant. If a devotee worships the Lord for such insignificant happiness, he must be considered devoid of all knowledge. So we have two other verses if anyone would like to read. We have 10 and 11. Okay, so then I will read text 10. Ya nir virtis tanu britam tava pada padma dhyanyad bhavaj jana katha shravanena swayat sa brahmani swa mahimani api nathama bhut kim tvam antakashi lulitat patatam vimanat. Translation. My Lord, the transcendental bliss derived from meditating upon your lotus feet or hearing about your glories from pure devotees is so unlimited that it is far beyond the stage of Brahmananda, wherein one thinks himself merged in the impersonal Brahman as one with the Supreme. Such Brahmananda is also defeated by the transcendental bliss derived from devotional service. Then, what to speak of temporary blissfulness of elevating oneself to the heavenly planets, which is ended by the separating sword of time? Although one may be elevated to the heavenly planets, he falls down in due course of time. Purport. The transcendental bliss derived from devotional service, primarily from Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, cannot be compared to the happiness derived by karmis by elevating themselves to the heavenly planets or by jnanis or yogis who enjoy oneself with the supreme impersonal Brahman. Yogis generally meditate upon the transcendental form of Vishnu, but devotees do not only meditate upon him, but actually engage in direct service of the Lord. In the previous verse, we find the phrase Bhavapayaya, which refers to birth and death. The Lord can give relief from the chain of birth and death. It is a misunderstanding to think, as do the monists, that when one gets relief from the process of birth and death, he emerges into the Supreme Brahman. Here, it is clearly said that the transcendental bliss derived from Shravanam Kirtanam by pure devotees cannot be compared to the Brahmananda or the impersonal conception of the transcendental bliss derived by merging into the Absolute. The position of karmis is still more degraded. Their aim is to elevate themselves to the higherly planetary systems. It is said, Yanti Deva Vrita Devan. Persons who worship the demigods are elevated to the heavenly planets, Bhagavad Gita 9.25. But elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita 9.21, we find Krishna Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti. Kshine Punya Martya Loka Vishanti. Those who are elevated to the higherly planetary systems must come down again as soon as the results of their pious activities are exhausted. They are like the modern astronauts who go to the moon. As soon as their fuel is used up, they're obliged to come back down to this earth. As the modern astronauts who go to the moon or other heavenly planets by force of jet propulsion have to come down again after exhausting their fuel, so also do those who are elevated to heavenly planets by force of yajnas and pious activities. Antakasha lulitat. By the sword of time, one is cut from that exalted position within this material world, and he comes down again. Dhruva Maharaj appreciated that the results of devotional service are far more valuable than merging into the absolute or being elevated to the heavenly planets. The words Patatam Vimanayat are very significant. Vimana means aeroplane. Those who are elevated to the heavenly planets are like aeroplanes which drop when they run out of fuel. 4911. Bhaktim Muhu Pravahatam Tvai Me Prasango Bhuyat an Ananta Mahatam Amalasya Yanam Yenam Yosol Banam Uru Vyasanam Bhavadim Nesye Bhavad Gunam Kathamrita Panamata. Translation. Dhruva Maharaj continued, O unlimited Lord, kindly bless me so that I may associate with great devotees who engage in your transcendental loving service constantly, as the rivers of water constantly flow. Such transcendental devotees are completely situated in an uncontaminated state of life. By the process of devotional service, I shall surely be able to cross the nascent ocean of material existence, which is filled with the waves of blazing fire like dangers. It will be very easy for me, for I am becoming mad to hear about your transcendental qualities and pastimes, which are eternally existent. Purport. The significant point in Dhruva Maharaj's statement is that he wanted the association of pure devotees. Transcendental loving service cannot be complete and cannot be relishable without the association of devotees. We have therefore established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Anyone who is trying to be aloof from this Krishna Consciousness Society and yet engage in Krishna Consciousness is living is in a great hallucination, for this is not possible. From this statement by Dhruva Maharaj, it is clear that unless one is associated with devotees, his devotional service does not mature. It does not become distinct from material activities. The Lord says, Satam prasangan mama virya samvidho bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha. Bhagavatam 3:25-25. Only in the association of pure devotees can the words of Lord Krishna be fully potent and relishable to the heart and ear. Dhruva Maharaj explicitly wanted the association of devotees. That association in devotional activities is just like the waves of an incessantly flowing river. In our Krishna Consciousness Society, we have full engagement 24 hours a day. Every moment of our time is always busily engaged in the service of the Lord. This is called the incessant flow of devotional service. A Mayavadi philosopher may question us. You may be very happy in the association of devotees, but what is your plan for crossing the ocean of material existence? Dhruva Maharaj's answer is that it is not very difficult. He clearly says that this ocean can be crossed very easily if one simply becomes mad to hear the glories of the Lord. Bhavad Gunakatha. For anyone who persistently engages in hearing the topics of the Lord from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and who is actually addicted to this process, just as one becomes addicted to intoxicants, it is very easy to cross the nescience of material existence. The ocean of material nescience is compared to a blazing fire. But to a devotee, this blazing fire is insignificant because he is completely absorbed in devotional service. Although the material world is blazing fire to a devotee, it appears full of pleasure. Visham Purna Sukhayate. Vishwam Purna Sukhayate. The purport of this statement by Dhruva Maharaj is that devotional service in the association of devotees is the cause of the development of further devotional service. But devotional service only is one elevated to the transcendental planet Goloka Vrindavan. And there also, there is only devotional service. For the activities of devotional service, both in this world and in the spiritual world, are one and the same. Devotional service does not change. The example of a mango can be given here. If one gets an unripe mango, it is still a mango. And when it is ripe, it remains the same mango. But it has become more tasteful and relishable. Similarly, there is devotional service performed according to the direction of the spiritual master, and the injunctions and relative and regulative principles of Shastra. And there is devotional service in the spiritual world rendered directly in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they are both the same. There is no change. The difference is that one stage is unripe and the other is ripe and more relishable. It is possible to mature in devotional service only in the association of devotees. Okay, so I think these were the verses we're supposed to cover today, the 9, 10, and 11. So actually we were hearing that in the beginning of this chapter, Krishna as Prishni Garbha, he actually comes in front of Dhruva Maharaj. And because Dhruva Maharaj was only 5 years old, he was very perplexed. So Krishna actually touches his head with the conch, and Dhruva Maharaj actually starts to feel ecstasy. And now he's actually offering all these prayers to Krishna. So he says that actually this is the realization that he gets, that, oh, I mean, I could have asked for pure devotional service, which will bring all happiness, which is the topmost of all bliss. Instead, I actually asked for something which is so material, because he was asking, or he was performing his austerities to get a kingdom that was greater than the kingdom of Lord Brahma, that is his great grandfather. So he was actually lamenting in one sense to say that, oh, I mean, I should have asked for something so much more valuable than asking for this. So that's in the purport. That's what Prabhupada is actually saying, that only those who lack knowledge, only those people actually worship the Lord for material profit or for sense gratification. But those who actually have the knowledge that they have received by the mercy of the spiritual master, or some pious activity that they have done, or that means their own piety, or the mercy of the Lord, whatever it could be, or the association of devotees, or from hearing from somebody, whatever the means might be. But when one actually gets to know the highest goal of life, then they actually don't seek for happiness that is anything less than the devotional service of the Lord. Because even if they did not have a full understanding, still actually Krishna somehow inspires them to always ask for something that is more spiritual. or something that is related to devotional service. So Krishna, because he's so kind that he will always help the devotees who want to come closer to him. So that is mostly from the first verse. Then the second verse mostly speaks about the importance of the of hearing and chanting, because hearing and chanting actually they help in purifying our consciousness. And just like we have heard in the previous verse, that without purified consciousness, our thoughts cannot be purified. And then if our thoughts are not purified, then our actions are not purified. And then we end up acting in ways which are not appropriate or which are not pleasing to Krishna, and which are mostly directed towards our own sense gratification. So here he says that hearing and meditating upon your lotus feet, it brings so much happiness that even Brahmananda is the spiritual bliss of merging into the Supreme. So he says that even that cannot be compared to the bliss that one is able to experience through hearing and chanting, through hearing and meditating upon your lotus feet. So Prabhupada here, he speaks about, in the whole purport, he speaks about how performing devotional service actually helps one to move to the higher planets. But actually, that is not a permanent situation for a devotee or for anybody, because what it does is that after their piety is over, then they have to come down again to this earthly realm. And the analogy here that is given is that of an aeroplane, which actually travels in air. But when the fuel of the aeroplane is over, then the aeroplane has to come back again and then again start his journey after refueling. So that's the example that Prabhupada is giving, that although through pious activities, through like performing sacrifices and other things, the Gyanis or the yogis, they perform different kinds of austerities. Through all of those, one can be elevated to higher planetary systems because that is their desire. That's why they're doing this austerity, that they want to enjoy the higher planetary systems. But in all of this, a devotee, he's actually always situated at the lotus feet of the Lord. All he wants is to serve the Lord, because that brings so much more happiness that it cannot even be compared to the happiness that comes from this kind of sense gratification in the heavenly realm. Actually, while I was reading this purport, I was just thinking that if we even experienced, or I'm sure, I mean, we are all experiencing something, because without that, we would not be continuing our devotional service. But as we get more and more attached, and as we get more and more taste of devotional service, we would only be so much more attracted. Because right now, when somebody asks us to chant, or if somebody gives us so much service that we cannot really do in a day, or this usually happens in the temple environment when some devotees don't show up for their service, and then the devotees who are there, they kind of have to back these devotees who have not shown up. So there is this tendency where people actually feel frustrated that, oh, why do I have to always do this service? Why do I have to be the one who is always backing up devotees? Why is this like this? Why is this like that? It's very natural, because right now we are not in that position of spontaneous devotional service that we are always thinking about Krishna, or we are always thinking about devotional service. And when we reach such stage of devotional service where we are spontaneously serving the Lord, always singing, just like Yashoda Mai, or just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just like Srila Prabhupada, all of these devotees, they are always continuously singing the glories of the Lord. And the bliss that they are experiencing is something that we cannot even imagine. It is not possible for us at this stage to imagine. Actually, this reminded me of verse that Rupa Goswami had written about chanting of the holy name, and he says that those who actually experience the bliss in chanting of the holy name, they actually think, it seems, that, oh, why don't I have millions and millions of ears, millions, or to hear the holy name, and millions of tongues to chant the holy name? So we can only imagine from his narration that the bliss of chanting of the holy name is so intense that the devotees are actually praying to the Lord that, please give me so many more tongues so I can chant. Please give me so many more ears that I can actually hear the holy name. So that bliss that comes from devotional service is so much, so much, so much more. But unfortunately, at least I can speak for myself, that I actually keep falling for these material things, these material happiness, which is nothing in front of the bliss that comes from devotional service. Even though theoretically I might know this, but momentarily I always keep falling that, oh no, this will bring me happiness, that will bring me happiness, or something else will bring me happiness. Whereas the actual happiness is in always thinking about Krishna and never forgetting him. So that is the situation of real happiness that Dhruva Maharaj is actually speaking about. And in the last verse, there is so much emphasis on the association of devotees, taking guidance from pure devotees. Because actually, Krishna resides in the heart of those devotees. And when we somehow serve these devotees, inquire from these devotees, then we actually touch the hearts of these devotees. And because Krishna is residing in their hearts, Krishna becomes so much more merciful that he actually gives his mercy to us. So that's how the mercy flows when we serve devotees. Because Krishna, he himself says that I am residing in the hearts of my devotees. I'm not residing anywhere else. That's where I reside all the time. So by serving devotees, by taking association of those devotees, hearing from them confidentially, we are actually able to access that mercy of Krishna who is residing in their hearts. It is here the analogy of a mango is given, which is so beautiful, the way Prabhupada explains that right now what we are experiencing is the taste of an unripe mango through our devotional service. But the same mango, when it's ripe, it tastes so much more different. It's so much more sweeter, so much more relishable. Similarly, we may be doing our devotional service here, which has some taste, but it is not like a ripe mango, which is so much sweet, and it's just very, very something that we get attached to. I mean, in India especially, people love mangoes. here we don't get so many mangoes, but in India, the mango is just everybody's favorite fruit. So, so Prabhupada is actually giving that analogy and speaking that the devotional service that we are doing now, and then the same devotional service we will do in the spiritual world also. But the only difference is the taste, the how we relish that service, and how attached we are to that service. It's the only difference, because serving Krishna, serving devotees will remain the same, whether it is here or whether it is in the spiritual world. So, so that's, when I was thinking about your other points, but I don't remember it right away. So, so there's another point here Prabhupada is speaking about, is that the material world is like a blazing fire, but for a devotee, it appears full of pleasure, because a devotee is always in the service of the Lord. So whether the devotee is put in any situation, his absorption is always to serve the Lord. Actually, yesterday I was hearing this class on Haridas Thakur, because Gaur Purnima is coming, and our Guru Maharaj was giving many classes on Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he was actually speaking about how the Khazi had actually asked his people to go and beat Haridas Thakur in all the marketplaces, so that he can stop the chanting of the holy name. And it is said that even after he was beaten up in 22 marketplaces, yet he had a smile on his face. And the people who were actually beating him, the servants of the Qazi, they asked Haridas Thakur that, every time we beat up somebody, after 1 or 2 marketplaces, they are dead. And how is it for you that after so many marketplaces, you're still so blissful and you're still so happy? What is the secret? Are you a saint or something? And the explanation that's given by our acharyas is that when somebody has dedicated his life to Krishna, then Krishna gives them the strength. Krishna actually was taking all of those beatings instead of Haridas Thakur. Because when we serve Krishna, then Krishna becomes so grateful to his devotee. Krishna becomes obliged to his devotee. That's the love, that's the kindness of Krishna, that he wants to reciprocate to the love of his devotee. That Krishna was actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking all those beatings, that Haridas Thakur could not feel the pain. And the same description is given for Prahlad Maharaj also. Like Prahlad Maharaj also, when he was put through so much of difficulty by his father, it is said that actually he was not feeling the pain of those difficulties, because he was constantly meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. And Krishna, in order to protect his devotees, was actually taking all of those pains so that his devotee is protected. His devotee will feel his love, his kindness, his mercy. So such is the nature of Krishna, that he always wants to protect his devotees. He always wants to care for his devotees, so much so that he will never leave his devotees and go anywhere else. And one last point before I end is that before beating Haridas Thakur, he was actually brought to the Qazi, and the Qazi had asked Haridas Thakur that why are you chanting the holy name? Because you are a Muslim and you're not supposed to chant the holy name, which is Hindu. So why are you doing this? And Haridas Thakur actually tells the Qazi that the holy name, chanting of the holy name actually belongs to the soul, and soul has no religion. I might be born in a Muslim family, but that doesn't make me Muslim because I am the soul. And he says that even if I cut my body into pieces, still my body will continue to chant, my soul will continue to chant the holy name. So Haridas Thakur was actually making this point that chanting of the holy name, chanting the names of Krishna is actually pertains to the soul. It does not pertain to the body. So he says that even if you cut my body into pieces, still I will continue to chant the holy name because it's actually coming from the soul platform. So it is actually very I guess difficult for us at this stage to understand um, how the chanting of the holy name connects us to Krishna in a very eternal, profound way, that it actually um, helps us to move from this sadhana bhakti to raganuga bhakti. Is more like how we are always thinking about Krishna and how we are always thinking how to serve him. And that pleasure, like Dhruva Maharaj is saying here, is the topmost of all happiness. So I mean, while I was reading this, I was just thinking that I sincerely pray to Krishna for all of us that one day we will come to that platform where we will actually experience the joy, that happiness that Dhruva Maharaj is actually experiencing. And through his example, we are also learning how to actually give up our material desires and desire for something that's so much more profound, so much more fulfilling, and so much more joyful. So I will end here, and then I will see if others would like to share anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is Linda Mano in Michigan. How are you ladies today?
Hare Krishna Mataji, we are doing good. Thank you for joining. How are you feeling?
Oh, okay, sort of. Okay, well, I just got the COVID shot today. So I'm yeah, I don't know yet. I guess the next couple of days I'll see my arm, you know. It's a very painful shot. It's just like wow. Yeah, it wasn't just like a regular tetanus shot that you get. It's a little, you know, you could feel the muscles tightening real good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, as you were saying about you know, works, you know, Jesus says in the Bible that it's not your works, you know, it's not your works that get you in heaven. It's living piously and no, I'm wrong. Wait a minute. I gotta go back here. We can know the love of God without works. You know, I mean, if that's all it took, you know, then everybody would be working towards that goal of heaven, returning to God's abode. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, Jesus says in the Bible that one has to come through Jesus Christ to know the mercy, to know how much mercy God has in His heart for us. You know. You know, and He paid the ultimate price, you know, by allowing Himself to be sacrificed the way He did. You know, there's a lot to it. You know, I mean, Jesus went through so much pain just to help us or convince us that there was a merciful God and that we would return to His abode at one time.
Linda Mataji, if I may say,
Yeah.
and I'm come from the Christian faith, it has been said in the Bible, faith without works is dead. And we must show our love for the Lord. We need to show it. And I think the example of what Prema Rasa was explaining about Haridas Thakur, he was just like Jesus in that sense. Okay, at that moment, you know, he was beaten in 21 marketplaces because, you know, he was chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He was distributing the holy name. Okay, and these were Muslims, and they, you know, so it goes far beyond. And of course, when it was happening to him, the Lord stepped in, or he would have been dead. For sure, because nobody could have survived what he went through. So similarly, it was the Lord who decided not to kill him, whereas Christ made the full sacrifice and died for our sin. But the idea is to come to the platform of love of God, and there are certain the works that we have to perform, I think, are devotion. It's devotion. It's not giving in charity every week at the temple or at the church or showing up and, you know what I mean? Just reading the script. It's showing God that you really believe in Him and that you have faith in Him no matter what.
Yeah. It's just, you know, I hear the Mataji sometimes talk, and they sound so sad, and I just want to reach out to them and say there's no reason to be sad, you know, as long as you believe in Christ's love, you know, you have freedom of conscience.
But why do you think they're sad? Are you trying to say that what we're believing in doesn't bring happiness? I'm not understanding.
Well, right. Well, to a degree. I mean, the joy, you know, the constant joy. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say to you. I mean, this is all about love of God. And love of God always produces happiness. You know, and you say the Mataji sounds so sad. About what? I mean, if they're sad, we're all going through difficulties in this material world. We are all experiencing things that are not joyful right now, you know, but we're trying to overcome these obstacles. And when we chant the Lord's names with sincerity and love, He does help us to overcome these things. I've seen Him do it.
Yeah, but we're always striving for that transcendental, you know, and it's, you know, you can have joy instead of being in transcendental. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my butt, but.
No, but I think you don't realize you're transcendental when you believe in Christ too. When you love and worship Him, that's transcendental. That's not mundane. That's not material. When we seek the spiritual and not the material, we enter into the transcendental realm.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. So, you know, we are not all miserable here. We're, you know what, most people walking around are pretty miserable. That's the truth.
True enough. And Jesus said there's only a select few who would return. All right. Thank you, Reverend Leah. I go back and forth so much. You know, I read my Bible and then I read the Gita, and I read my Bible and I read the Gita, and it's like, okay, you know, Jesus says this, that we're not supposed to worship idols, or and the Gita says, we should worship, the demigods.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't say that. It says we should not worship the demigods. We should just worship the Lord. There are many people out there who are worshiping demigods, and that's where their level of consciousness is at. Maybe they grew up with that, or maybe they want something material. So they pray to a specific demigod to get certain things. But that's not what Krishna wants us to do. He wants us to go directly to him. Because when we go directly to him, it includes all. It's just like when you pray, people that pray to saints, okay? You have so many in Christianity who pray to saints, all right? It's not that we're praying to God, we're praying to saints many times, okay? And it's that same concept. That doesn't mean that the Lord wants you to pray to all of these different people. He says, no, you don't need to do that. Krishna says, come directly to me. Everything you want in all of these, from these demigods, I can provide it because I'm the maker. I'm the one who gives power to all of these demigods. I think maybe you're having trouble separating. You're separating the two, and what we're saying is this: it's the same dharma. It's the same worship of God. It's just in the material world, like what we see going on here. People have different ways of expressing it, and they're all, the Muslim faith, the Christian faith, the Jewish faith, the Hindu faith. Those are all legitimate. The Buddhist faith, but Krishna says, drop all of that religion, because that's all on the material level, and just worship me. That's what he says. So basically, no, he's not saying to worship demigods. Maybe your family's telling you that. I have a feeling you're getting people infiltrating into your
There's some negativity here in the house.
Yeah, I sense that. Don't worry about that. Do what your heart says. I always say we have to come to a love of God in the way that it makes sense to us. And it's not. Those are spices. So, I think, we're...
have to make that fast in my chanting reading.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I was just saying that I need to stay more steadfast in my chanting and reading. It's just keep going to the Mangal Arati in the morning. It's been so hard to wake up.
I've been getting up for that, and it's really beautiful. So that's my 2 cents. Prema Ratsa, you may have wanted to say something, but that's all.
No, Mataji, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I don't have anything to share apart from what you said already. So, yeah, thank you so much for pitching in.
And thank you for your beautiful class. And every time I hear that, that Haridas Thakur and getting beaten up in those marketplaces, it just tears me up, just tears my heart. And he wasn't sad. He wasn't sad. And this, look at, like you said, Prahlad Maharaj, look what he had to undergo. I think when we're at a different level of spirituality, we would see this very differently. We would see it in a material way. And it would not affect us in the way we think it's going to affect. Like right now, that would just devastate me. You know what I'm saying? But no. For them, it was not like that. And look at Dhruva Maharaj. I mean, these saints they're unbelievable. What they undergo and how they come to love of God, it's amazing to me. So love of God, once again, it's not about religious factions within the material world. We may have come from that, but ultimately it goes far beyond that. And even if we're praying to Christ or we're praying to, whomever, whatever religion we come from, that's legitimately, that's transcendental. And I think it's hard to, I've stopped explaining those things to family members, Mataji, because if you get hardcore Christianity in there, people, they were taught it's this way or the highway, and that's the only way. So you're not going to be able, I'm not going to convince people that don't want to be convinced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all. It's like beating your head against the stone wall when you're trying to convince somebody that doesn't want to hear it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These people they're not going to change their minds. Let me tell you, my family's never going to change their mind. And that's the way they feel. So I just don't talk about it to them because then you were offending Krishna.
Well, they find comfort, in the message that Jesus gave,
That's okay. And that's beautiful.
It's like the freedom to feel, not to be numb. And
well, I think we can feel it too. Why you think that Yeah.
It's just, here in the West, Christianity is like so big. It's bigger. I don't know if it's bigger than India, but I know it's.
There are Christians in India.
Yeah.
There's Christians in India, definitely.
I've seen that. But the Christ mentality, the Jesus, doctrine is so prevalent here. Millions and millions in the United States are, follow Jesus Christ. And they find their comfort and their knowledge, by reading the Bible every day and trying to apply the humanitarian Christian activities.
Absolutely. So I think that's beautiful.
It's like we can't. It's a very hard thing to fight. You can't. It's going to be a very hard thing to fight. It's just. If you've ever listened to Benny Hinn or Joel Steen, you know what I mean. He just has tons and tons of followers that are out there, trying to understand, the Bible, or also having comfort in Jesus's humble words in the Bible. There's a lot to be learned in the Bible, I'm telling you. More than I think that people give credit for. There's a lot, deep stuff. Really. I mean,
Oh, of course. I came from that. I recognize that. So this is absolute. I'm just guess. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. That's all.
yeah.
Very good.
I think if we can introduce, it would be to the benefit of the Indian community to read some of the Bible and find that joy and that rest, and go away from fear of the unknown, because nobody really knows, what the future holds for any of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have to go now. I'm sorry. It's that time. So, Premarasa Mataji, are you there? I think she might have left.
Yes, Mataji, I am here. Yeah, but
I'm sorry. Your husband is not giving class tonight, correct?
Yes, Mataji.
No class, correct?
No class today. Yes, Mataji.
No class. Okay. Oh, that's a relief in a way, because I'm in the middle of all these projects here. Okie doke. Well, I appreciate that, and it gives me a little extra time to read tonight too.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes, Mataji. Yes. Thank you all, Mataji, for joining. And we can probably end here because it's 6:08. So
yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Mataji. Thank you all very much for joining and being there for each other. So we'll end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam.
Jai.
Jai.
Jai.